Most startups have some Chinese money in them. We have thousands of languages and dialects. We have 22 official languages. And I think Ku somewhere falls there. There's an opportunity for Indian investors to step up. It's very naive of people to talk about privacy on a public social media platform. How many politicians do you think there are? They are less than 0.1% of politicians on the platform. But somehow what the media really loves to look at is, oh, you have so many politicians and they are from BJP. It doesn't belong to a certain affiliation. We let our success speak for itself.
Hello and welcome to Business Today. I have with me today the co founder of an app that has created a lot of buzz in recent weeks. We have Mayank Bidavatka, the co founder of Koo. Koo is believed to be the Indian alternative to Twitter and has seen a lot of growth over the past couple of months. So, welcome to the show, Mayank. Let's talk about the good things first. You've seen a growth of over 10 times in the first 2 weeks of February. Have you been able to sustain the growth a month since then?
Well, the growth is good. It's been, it's not the same kind of growth because there was a lot of talk at that time. But it's been much better than it was before all these things happened. So yeah, the growth is the growth is still healthy compared to before.
What was the mood in the team when you saw the sudden surge in traffic and the number of downloads? Did you really have to pinch yourself to believe that it was happening?
So I think that it was overwhelming. Yes, no doubt. I think it had suddenly become national news, right? Everyone was talking about this, and there were all kinds of stories. There were a lot of people trying out the app, and so I think for us it was just a moment to grow up really fast, to act really fast, and so that made it a little overwhelming for everyone. It was good for business. A lot of people, there was sudden awareness about the platform. A lot of creators started joining us. So overall, the surge has done us some good. Yeah.
You've recently done Series A funding and raised $4.1 million. From what I know, you're still a small team. So, where are you spending all the money?
So most of the funds will go into product development, and we are at the core a technology company, technology and product company. So we'll build our assets in that area.
Can you just elaborate on the assets? Would it mean more servers?
No, assets are not that. You know, yes, there are costs on the server side, but uh, it's about us building a better product. You have to invest in technology. Hiring more engineers, uh, better features. Right? We are a language app, so there's a lot of machine learning that happens in Indian languages. So that's what I mean by assets. There's a lot of under the hood technology that goes into recommendations. So those are some examples, and then making the product more feature rich.
Mayank, there's been a lot of talk about Chinese investment in Ku, and of course, you've cleared the air around it. At the same time, there are a lot of big Indian startups which have seen Chinese investments. So, how do you look at this going forward? Is this something that concerns startups like yours in the Indian startup ecosystem?
I think that, like you said, most startups have some Chinese money in them. I think it's a factor of them having seen some progress on the internet way before than India did, and they want to get that experience that they've had in China and back Indian entrepreneurs that are creating products that are similar to what they've seen and what they understand in China. So that's the reason why they want to participate. Obviously, whatever has happened with the government banning some Chinese apps, putting a cap on the funding amount and stuff like that. I think that does have an effect on the ecosystem here, but it's not like you don't have alternate sources of funds available. So I think entrepreneurs will knock on other doors and figure these different sources of funds. It's also an opportunity for Indian investors to step up uh, to support large Indian dreams, right? And if you look at it, today we're living in the world of conveniences that have been created by Indian entrepreneurs, right? You order food through Swiggy, you'll take a cab through Ola, you're booking your products on Flipkart. So we're living in the world that someone dreamt of earlier, and there are people who understand that these are capabilities that Indian entrepreneurs have, and these are dreams that should be backed because the returns are phenomenal.
And have you seen any kind of support from the government?
I think that we have a great opportunity here, where we are the second largest internet population in the world, and this is growing, right? Our penetration is low, but the population is large. So, there's a massive opportunity to create products that solve uniquely Indian problems. Now, this was true earlier, and it's true today as well. I think the big change that has happened is the intent of the government, right? I think the government has made its intent very clear by talking about self-reliancy, by talking about Atmanirbharta, right? So I think that's a huge boost that Indian entrepreneurs get, and they should definitely take advantage of a stance like that from the government. Now, the government will support all kinds of entrepreneurship, especially related to topics and subjects that have a wide impact and a long lasting impact on Indians, right? And I think Ku somewhere falls there because I think they do understand the reality that we have the language diversity that no other country in the world has. We have thousands of languages and dialects. We have 22 official languages. English is a small percentage of the population of the languages being spoken. So, all these make the Indian opportunity and the Indian problem statement very unique. And it's important that Indian entrepreneurs solve it because they understand the nuances that we face on the streets every day, right? So I think here's a great opportunity. Here's a great intent that's been, very widely spoken of by the government, and funds are being made available. There's an opportunity for Indian investors to step up and fund these dreams. So I think it's a great time for entrepreneurship. I think the government has also made it fairly clear that it's not going to be a scenario where others are not allowed to be a part of the game.
Mike, let's talk about the app, about the languages bit. I find it very interesting. I went through the app a couple of days back, and I saw there were many upcoming languages such as Bengali, Nepali. So, are you looking at a number of languages that you want to target? Also, the Bengal elections are coming, and is that something that you're looking at in terms of launching the product Bengali Ku in the days ahead?
Yeah, it's launched today. We're just waiting for the Play Store review, and it's out today. A lot of talk will happen in Bengali. So it's actually the elections are coming up. There's a lot of chatter about all the things related to the Bengal elections.
Mayank, when Ku was the talk of the town, there were questions raised about data privacy, security. What have you done over the past month to address these concerns?
These are actually not concerns. It's just naivete of people who don't understand what they're saying. So I'm happy to explain it.
If you can explain it again to our viewers.
Yeah. So I think that uh, there are private platforms and then there are public platforms, right? private platforms, example would be Facebook. I need to friend you, you need to friend me back, and the chat that we have is something only my friend should be able to see, right? I'm chatting with you on WhatsApp, nobody should be able to see that chat, right? Because it's private. So those are examples of private networks. And then you have public social media platforms, right? Public social media platforms examples would be Twitter, Cool, right? It's like going on stage. So if you go on stage and tell people that my name is Mayank and I'm X years old and I'm male and I'm married, this is my birth date, it's an option that you have. You chose to disclose that information when you went on stage. So when you're using a public social platform, you don't have to worry about what information the user is disclosing because it's optional. If they want, they will share that information. If they don't want to share it, they don't need to, right? Uh, the only information that the user gives us that he does not want us to share is a mobile number. That's his personal mobile number, which they use when they sign up on our platform, right? Why do we have mobile number as a sign in? Because that's what the majority would use. I don't think someone in a tier 4 city or in a village will have an email ID, right? So when you're building for a wider base in India, you need to recognize the fact that more people have mobile numbers and email IDs. Hence, we use the mobile number. Now, has the mobile number of a user been leaked? It's not. The information that anyone talks about saying this is a leak is information that the user has put out there so people can connect with them better. It's not called an information or a data privacy issue. It is called the profile page. So that's why I said it's very naive of people to talk about privacy on a public social media platform. If this was a private platform, I could understand that question.
Mayank, moving on, there's this sense that it's only people with one sense of ideology who are on coup. So, is that something that concerns you? Is there a risk of coup becoming an echo chamber?
So it's not a concern because every product has early adopters, right? This is something that the government has recognized. They selected us on the Atmanirbhar Challenge. They understand the importance of this, so they've been the first and early adopters. We have people talking about poetry. It's not all politics. There are people discussing all kinds of daily things, right? There are millions of users. How many politicians do you think there are? They are less than 0.1% of politicians on the platform, but somehow what the media really loves to look at is, oh, you have so many politicians and they are from BJP. Well, the fact is you have Kamal Nath who's joined and he's from Congress. You have HT Devegowda. He's been the ex prime minister. He's on the platform. So these are convenient views that some people share, and we let our success speak for itself. You have people from all parties joining because this is an open platform and this is actually meant for the whole country to express their opinions. It doesn't belong to a certain party, it doesn't belong to a certain affiliation.
So, Mayank, I think the USP of Coup is that it caters to regional markets in their local languages. So, can you tell us more about it?
Well, coup has been made because 10% of India speaks and prefers English. We have 1.3 billion people, and more than a billion people speak some native Indian language. If you think of open expression platforms, a microblogging format is very easy for anyone to create and share their thoughts, and easy for someone to consume because it's short, it's succinct. Anyone with a short span of attention can get a lot of information in a short span of time. Microblogging is a good format to cater to Indians at large, right? But this can't be happening in English because of the language diversity. And hence, our focus is to make a deeper, immersive experience available to Indians at large in a language of their preference. you will see that there are certain nuances that the product has where the first screen itself, we ask you what languages you speak. Every other instruction on the app then becomes in that language. You can see a feed full of people who have been contributing in that language, making it easy for people to discover other people. The creation tool has language keyboard enabled, making it easy for the creator to create. There's an audio creation option, there's a video creation option. So we made all these features keeping in mind the diversity and the fact that the native Indian language speaker has not had a great product experience.
As you expand, will the expansion be completely online, or do you see Ku opening offices in different parts of the country to get the language services going?
We hardly have any operations. It's an online company. It's a product tech company. We'll always be in Bangalore. We don't need offices anywhere else. Most of our users,
Okay.
get to know about us, uh, and they just need to use the app. So we don't need an offline presence anywhere else.
And finally, do you think Ku will become a billion-dollar company, and how long do you think will it take to get there?
I don't look at it like that. It's not something that we care about. Uh, our the way we look at the company is finding ways to add value to users. uh, the the outcome of the company is not always dependent on you know uh, what's put into it. I think if you get the inputs right, a lot of these things fall into place. So I think for us, because we've been serial entrepreneurs and we've done this before, uh, you know monetary value of the organization, monetary value to the founders, team members is not the way we look at it. It's not something that excites us. What really excites us, being able to cater to India at large, is the ability to create impact that's never been created before. I think financial gains, returns to people involved with the enterprise is definitely something that will happen, but it's not our source of excitement.